Yes, mates, how's it going? My name's Lee, and welcome back to the FPL Punk YouTube channel, where we try to dominate FPL one game week at a time. In today's video, I'm going to look at my current team for game week 29 and discuss some transfer targets and see how my team could look if I actually made those transfers. If you enjoy FPL content, please subscribe to the channel down below. Anyway, let's rock and roll.
Get strong.
Right, mate, so this is how my team would look if I made no changes going into game week 29. And you can see that I'm playing some players that I don't really want to play. Vandenberg and Joachim Andersen stand out quite a lot. I've only got Verbruggen on the bench as any kind of backup to my team. I've got Trent, Salah and Isak, who all blank. I've got Pickford in goal, who I think has got a better fixture as opposed to Verbruggen, West Ham at home. And although I've got Jared Bowen in my midfield, who's up against Pickford, I still like the idea of playing Pickford anyway. Like, you might get some saves, and he could keep a clean sheet. In terms of the defence, I'm happy playing Gabriel. I don't think Chelsea firing all cylinders. Huijsen up against Brentford. I've obviously got Mbeumo and Wissa, which I don't really like. It's going to be a relatively low-scoring week for me this week. I can't see a lot of it because I've got a lot of attackers versus defenders, which I don't like at all. Don't like playing Vandenberg. And I don't like playing Anderson. Palmer's just off it. Is a massive consideration for me to sell this week. I'm seeing a lot of people sell Salah. I just don't see it. I think it's too risky. I just think he's too good. And yeah, you might not captain him, but could Salah still score 10 points per game like he's done over the course of the season? Yeah, definitely in my opinion. So I'm not going to mess around with that one. Plus, I've got so much value tied up in Salah that it's just so much harder for me to buy back if I did decide to sell Salah as opposed to like Palmer, who I've only got something like 0.2 tied up in. So it's not like I've got like a massive investment in Palmer. Happy playing Kluivert on penalties. Good player. Could have scored on the weekend versus Spurs, but he got ruled out for offside. Is what it is. And Mbeumo, obviously, is up against Huijsen. Is what it is. On penalties again, which I really like. And Johan Wissa, he seems to be kind of hit and miss right now. Stats and underlying data is still okay. Still happy with the decision to bring him in. Wish I'd probably kept Mateta in the first instance, but I would have been forced to make the transfer anyway. So it kind of is what it is, and I got this fixture here anyway. In terms of the team, I think there's only really Bristwood that I'd be happy captaining out of this team. And that's one of the reasons why I'm maybe thinking of making some transfers and making some big changes to this team. I'm going to look at some transfer targets in a minute, and up against Ipswich away, I think it's a good fixture. I think it's a prime fixture for Wood. I think he's the only player really that has the potential to kind of bang and kind of do really well in terms of like whole potential. So that's the only reason why I can see him as my main captaincy option. Let's take a look at some of my transfer targets for game week 29, and then eventually see how that's going to impact my team. First up, we've got Gradio, and he's my main transfer target for a defender. 5.9 million for Man City, 20.2% owned. And like I said, like, he's very much on the buy side of things. I think there's a few decent options out there if you're looking for kind of like a short-termish kind of punt. And the reason why I like some of the Man City players is that they play in game week 29, and then they've got a good fixture against Leicester in game week 30. And that's the reason why I am trying to target some of the City players. I think you could look at someone like an Aina or someone like a Milenkovic if you wanted to look at like a Nottingham Forest, who have got a good fixture up against Ipswich. And he's been okay, considering how bad City have been this year. Like, he's made 27 appearances in the league, 1 come off the bench, 7 clean sheets, 5 goal involvements, 101 total points so far. On the low side of things, I thought it might be a little bit higher than that. And then in terms of key stats per 90, City and Gradio are conceding 1.61 goals per 90 between game week 24 and game week 28. And that's worse than their season average, and that's the reason why it's highlighted in red. In terms of their expected goals conceded, it's 0.86, which is better than their season average. So they are doing a little better in terms of the data, but they're still conceding a lot of goals, which is just a little bit unfortunate. And his attacking data, both in terms of XG and his expected assists, are both down from his season average. So maybe we can see him push up a little bit more and get more involved in the attacking third, particularly in that game week 30 game up against Leicester. His predicted points kind of vary from kind of 3.8 to 5.2, and it's kind of in and around there. I'm probably not expecting a lot of clean sheets from Guardiola and City, but I like him because he's got that game in 29. He's got a great fixture in game week 30, and he just feels like a nice kind of almost mini differential because I can't see a lot of people being able to get there. The only way I could really get there with this is taking out someone like a Trent, moving that Gameweek, freeing up a little bit of money, and trying to do something else with the rest of my team. Let's take a look at some midfielders. Moving on to some midfielders, and I just think the Forest guys are just some of the best options out there. If you want me to discuss kind of more options, take a look at my free hit video that I posted recently. I kind of discuss a lot of different options for all the different positions, but I just really like these Forest guys because they've got a great fixture in game week 29, and the three that kind of stand out the most is Anthony Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. And probably the best one is probably Gibbs-White, but he's a little bit more expensive at 6.5. If I was to do the moves that I'm thinking of doing, I'd be 0.1 short, so I couldn't go and get Gibbs-White. I'd probably be forced to go and get Elanga or Hudson-Odoi. But looking at the predicted data below, you can see that Elanga, over his last 5 games, is getting an XG of 0.22 per 90 and expected assists of 0.29, which is much better than the likes of Gibbs-White, who's getting 0.18 XG and 0.08 expected assist, which is miles better than Hudson-Odoi as well. So on paper, Elanga is probably the better one. He's got better underlying data. He's got slightly kind of similar expected points. His minutes have been a little bit lower than over the course of the season. He's kind of averaging between 65 and 75, maybe a little bit more, give or take. I kind of predict him to get around 75, 80 minutes up against Ipswich, and then they've got Man United after that as well. I just really like kind of taking a mini punt on someone like an Elanga, where it almost feels like a risk-free kind of pick. And I like him because he's so cheap. He looks like he's going to play all the time, and he's just a threat. When you've got a striker like Chris Wood, who is just so lethal, you don't have to be as accurate in terms of your passes and your crosses. You can just kind of stick it up there, and I think that's what Elanga does. Gets down the wing, beats his man, sticks across up towards the back post, and Chris Wood just does Chris Wood thing. So I like all these as options. Hudson-Odoi probably feels like the more risky one because his underlying data is so bad, but I think if you can get to Gibbs-White, I'd probably prefer that, but for me, I might be forced to go and get someone like Elanga. The last player I wanted to discuss was none other than Erling Haaland, and I'm seeing a lot of people look at him now. He's gone down to 14.7 million, 28.1% owned so far, 27 appearances, 20 goals, 3 assists. He's still doing the business, mate. Like, I know he's not had a great season, like he's not been kind of firing all cylinders, but still doing bits, mate. Key stats per 90 between game weeks 24 and 28. His shots are down to 2.02 per 90. His season average is around 3.5. That's dropped down quite a lot. However, they are playing at home over the next 2 games, and Haaland has historically been much better at home compared to away. And I think they can attack Brighton. I think even though Brighton have been okay recently, they're not always the best in terms of defensive kind of data and things like that. So I am expecting Haaland to do well against Brighton. And then they've Leicester at home as well. And the reason why I like him so much, particularly for my team, is that it's just a massive captaincy shout for 29 and 30. And because I don't really have a lot of options around there, that bringing in someone like Haaland makes a lot of sense because it gives me that main kind of focal point for the captain. He is getting more kind of key passes per 90, but it's not really why you buy that's not really why you buy Haaland, and his expected assists as a result of that has also gone up. Still getting 6.1 points per match. His predicted data is still good, kind of ranges from 6.5 up to 8.1. It's still like beastie. So if you can get to Haaland, that would be my preference. I'm like, a lot of people have already got someone like Chris Wood and Wissa and things like that. I think if you can get to Haaland, that's probably what I would prefer to do. And to kind of fund the move, I would rather sell Palmer as opposed to Salah. And I kind of discussed that earlier on in the video there as well. I just think Salah's a better asset, and for not much more money than Palmer, I think there's no point messing around with that, and just keep Salah and not mess around with it, because he's going to come back and bite you because he's just an absolute machine this season. Let's take a look at my final team for game week 29. So looking at the revised team for game week 29, if I make those 3 changes, so with this I've done Trent Alexander-Arnold to Gvardiol to free up a little bit of money. I've done Palmer to Elanga to also free up some money, and then I've done Isak to Erling Haaland. The players highlighted in blue are the players that I brought in. I've made 3 transfers with this, and that's going to cost me a -4. But I think it's worth the -4 just down to the fact that I've got Haaland, and now I've got a great captaincy option. Also for this week and next week as well, and that's the reason why I really like it. Gives me some money in the bank of 1.1 million, where if I want to go and look at someone like a Munoz next week, that's something that I could also do there as well. So like I also like it from that point of view, and it gives me some decent bench. It gives me some decent bench coverage as well, where I've got Anderson and Vandenberg as backup if anything happens to any of my starting 11. Really happy with how this team would look if I did make these changes. I'm not 100% set on this. I think the only way I could maybe move things around is to take Gvardiol down to someone like an 8 Nora, which would free up a little bit of money to then take a Langer to somebody else. Ideally, I'd go and get Bruno Fernandes, but I can't quite fund the move, and I don't know how else I could actually do it. I could still keep Trent in the team here, and all I would need is 0.2 million. And then I could take maybe either Anderson down to another bench player, but I don't like that because then I'm forced to play somebody else because Trent blanks. Or I could take Verbruggen down to like a Fabianski. Although right now, West Ham are playing Newcastle and Areola's playing, so maybe that's not a great decision to do. But if I could maybe move something else around, then I could still keep Trent as well because Liverpool still got decent fixtures, so I don't really like it from that point of view. If I did this, I'd be looking to wildcard between game week 30, 32-ish. Probably 31, 32 is probably where I'm going to land in terms of the wildcard. And then I'm pretty close to some double game weeks where I could potentially play my bench boost and kind of maximize my point potential from there. But this is kind of what I'm thinking right now. Leave a comment down below if you think I should take a hit in the first place and transfer out Trent, Palmer and Isak for Gvardiol, Ilanga and Haaland. To me, it makes sense and I like it. But leave your comments down below. Right, mates, that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed. So we looked at my team for game week 29. I looked at some transfer targets and then looked at how my team would look like if I actually made those transfers. And to be honest, I quite like how it's going to look, to be honest. And that might be the way I go for game week 29. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, drop a comment down below. Have a good day. Good luck for game week 29. Peace and love.